Welcome to the HERHealth podcast, transforming health for women and girls at risk, where we empower women and girls to take charge of their health and well-being. Join us as we shine a spotlight on issues affecting women and girls' health and explore ways to create positive change. Get ready to be inspired and empowered as we discuss health, advocacy, and empowerment for women and girls at risk. Please be advised that this podcast may cover sensitive topics such as gendered violence. We understand that these discussions can be difficult to listen to. If you feel uncomfortable or need support, we encourage you to prioritize your well-being. Consider exploring our other podcasts if these topics are triggering for you. Resources can be found in the description.
Welcome back to the HERHealth podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Alexandra Lazochek, and today we're highlighting groundbreaking work from Waypoint Research Institute, where researchers and community partners are reshaping how we study and respond to intimate partner violence. And joining us are members of that team who are leading innovative projects that bridge science, lived experience, and design to build more compassionate and responsive systems of care. So thank you so much for joining me. I wanted to start with, if you could share a little bit about who you are, your role at Waypoint, and what drew you to focus on intimate partner violence research.
Well, maybe I'll go first because I've been around here doing this the longest. I'm Zoe Hilton. I'm research chair in forensic mental health at Waypoint. I've been working in this field for all of my career, spanning a few decades now, and I got interested in this through hearing how police were responding to domestic violence at the time and the shifts that were starting to happen as I was kind of coming through grad school, where it was no longer being considered just a private thing that had no concern for police, but at the same time as officers were starting to implement mandatory charging or presumptive charging, what was happening is that people who were experiencing intimate partner violence were ending up being arrested and charged themselves and being criminalized through that route. So it was just looking at some of these unintended consequences and the impact it has on people that it's supposed to be benefiting. It just really drove me to want to do this research, and just more and more over time, seeing those gaps, what that happen when we don't involve the people who are impacted by the research, has kind of drawn me closer to the work that we're doing now. And it's really because of my younger colleagues here and their influence saying we really need to be hearing these voices, not just hearing the voices, which is where we were at, 10 years ago or so, but working together on an equal level with people who are experiencing intimate partner violence and people who are affected by our laws and our interventions, our services, and our research.
Yes, thank you so much. Unless, did you want me to point out people, or did you on the team wanted to?
It would actually be great if you point out people. It'll make our lives easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're next on my screen on my little moving star,
Okay.
so go right ahead.
Awesome. So I'm Elnaz, and I'm a research scientist at Waypoint. I've been there, January will be 3 years, and it's gone by so quickly. And I am in a similar boat as Zoe. Just hearing, the stories, even in your professional and personal life, just how present it is. And the magnitude of impact and what it can do and how it impacts people's lives in all these different ways, from a legal standpoint, from a physical health standpoint, mental health, social standpoint. There's so many pieces that kind of led us to realize that we really need to open space for people impacted to be able to share all these complexities without us as researchers dictating what that looks like. So it was really stepping aside as researchers, opening a space to really listen and learn, and not just from people who have survived IPV, but people who have engaged in the act, diverse communities, people of all walks of life, because this is one of those issues that really doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anyone at any point. And so for us, it's really important for us to identify what those risk factors are, but also where support needs to be present, leveraging our expertise in the mental health field.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself and the work you play. Next on my screen, I see Jaden.
Hi, I'm Jaden, and I am the communications and digital media specialist for our project. And I had originally joined Waypoint and the Research Institute as a student while I was completing my master's in design for health. And so, what actually originally drew me to this project and intimate partner violence research was the fact that the research team was looking for new and innovative ways to promote and raise awareness about IPV. And when I joined the project, I quickly realized just how stigmatized this issue is and the gap that currently exists of getting survivors involved within the research. So for me personally, I really look at trying to find ways to couple design with knowledge mobilization and communication to create change and work towards reducing the stigma.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to meet you. Next on my stars, I have Seville.
Hello. Yes, my name is Seville. I've been at Waypoint almost 3 years, like Elnaz, time flies. And I am the research coordinator on our project. My role is sort of at the intersection of research, community engagement, and partnerships and supporting lived experience involvement. While I've been at Waypoint, actually, my entire time at Waypoint has been focused on patient-oriented research and participatory research approaches, especially with marginalized, vulnerable populations. And this work is a great extension of the work that I've been up to this point. And what continues to draw me to this type of work is really the belief that research should be more than just generating knowledge. It should be about building safer systems, whether that's policies, programs, or practices where people with lived experience help directly shape them from the start. And so that commitment to safety and meaningful partnerships is really what guides me and drives me every day in this field.
Amazing. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. Last but certainly not least, we have Elka today.
Yeah. Hi, nice to meet you, Alexandria. My name is Elke, and I'm a research psychometrist at the Waypoint Center for Mental Health Care. And I've been supporting Zoe and her work over the last decade and a half. And we created originally the ODERA 101 online training program for the Ontario Domestic Assault Risk Assessment, which is being used all over the world, especially in Canada and throughout the United States, but in other parts of the world as well. And we're training around 1,800 professionals every year on train them and certify them. We originally designed ODERA 101 a few years ago, but it needs to have an update to become more modern and engaging. And infrastructure is starting to show signs of needed renewal. And so the current work is pretty new to me. I have not been engaged in participatory research before, so this is a totally new subject for me. But I'm really happy to be part of this project because it really extends, like my colleagues have already said, like it really is important to capture the feelings and the needs of the people we're working with every day and whose lives we're hoping to better. And that it's really important that we get their input in a meaningful and collaborative way.
Thank you so much, Elka. Yeah, again, thank you so much for introducing yourselves, everyone, and your work at Waypoint. This is such an important work, and it's really important when we discuss about intimate partner violence going forward. In your webinar, particularly in the RESPECT study, you went above and beyond to address barriers such as access to issues, emotional toll, and the lack of trust that often surrounds research in the context of intimate partner violence. And you made sure to highlight how centering the lived experience transforms the research process and kind of emphasizing a more humanized and equitable approach and shaping the narrative. So I'm very curious when we talk about lived experiences in research, what does that look like in practice and how does it shift traditional approaches? And I'll let anyone who wants to speak go right ahead.
I will say, in terms of the RESPECT framework, from my perspective as a researcher, it slows things down. First of all, you need to take the time to meet with people, to find out their perspective, to find out what's the best way to meet with people and where they're at, and that's only the beginning. The relationship building takes its own time, and then what the RESPECT framework is recommending is that you build those relationships before you even design your research or determine your research questions. That is a huge slowing down of the research process. It's one that is necessary for everybody to be able to engage in the research partnership, but also one that I can see being very challenging from the academic-based researcher's perspective, because all those issues around funding that are, we need to get the funding proposal in 3 months' time, so it goes back to what Elna said at the beginning: is use your existing relationships and partnerships and build on those, and be building new partnerships and developing those relationships all the time, without an agenda that we're going to be doing research together, and start working with your existing partners and relationships to develop the research together.
I agree with Zoe, and really I feel like we're at a point in research where we're moving away from this vertical sort of structure or hierarchical structure and kind of moving towards this horizontal way where leadership and expertise is balanced across all the different contributions and partnerships that we're seeing. And that does require a lot of learning and an acknowledgement that lived experience, co-research, or partnering with people who have different types of lived experience is something that requires a very dynamic approach. We have to be very flexible in a system that was traditionally quite inflexible. And I think that's the beauty of driving research forward, is lived experience serves as a reminder that we are to be, in order to be successful, in order to be productive, in order to benefit the communities we serve, we have to be flexible and dynamic and open to that change.
And I'd like to just further elaborate on exactly what Zoe and Elna said. Relationships are critical, and not just, at the outset, but throughout the research process and also after. And it's really, I think we touched on this during the presentation as well, as making sure they're not tokenistic and just meant to check off a box. But really being genuine and authentic throughout, but also, leveraging different skill sets of your diverse research team, which is why it's so important to have, different skill sets in that research team. And then one of the implications of this type of work is also when projects come to an end, there's a lot of potential re-traumatization that could come with abruptly ending these relationships. So we really need to be mindful of how we navigate that territory. Yeah.
Yeah, just in regards to expertise, it's the researcher has, or the lived experience researcher has a unique perspective that the academic or the organization affiliated researcher might not have. So it's really important to bring in that perspective into the research right from the beginning, because there are things that the academically trained research might not even think about. That is important. And as Zoe had already had described the foundations, like some of the things are so important to feel safe and to have that safety net and have the mechanisms to allow people to come in or out of the research pathway is really important for them, because it's not a linear way that we see research is being conducted, but some things might fluctuate and change, and it's really important for them to be recognized that that could happen to them, that they will, but they're still welcome to come back. So there's and the expertise, like Sybil said, is really, really important that we don't have.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really love that you all highlighted the importance of meeting people where they're at. Co-facilitating might slow things down, but it's such a critical step for building new partnerships and developing research together in a sense. And the idea of a horizontal structure, that's something I've never really thought about. I always thought of like ivory tower, trying to avoid an ivory tower or hierarchical steps. But yeah, horizontal makes total sense. And it feels like such an innovative way to share power and creating equity in the research process. So thank you for really diving into that. Moving forward, several of the projects like Respect and May Hearts initiatives combine large-scale research with community partnerships. What are some of the lessons you've learned from those collaborations?
Maybe I can start with this one. I think in the project that I'm a part of, I've really learned the importance of having a community and the importance of connecting with other organizations and even other fellow researchers who have similar values and are working towards the same goal. I think it's through collaboration and connections, it really helps to spread the word about the work that you're doing. And you can connect with people within other organizations and meet really great people and learn their stories who will play a really key role in spreading awareness about IPV and gender-based violence.
And just adding to that, there's something so incredible about how this horrific, issue is being addressed by some of the most incredible organizations and people. Speaking for myself, it's honestly been such a privilege to meet the change makers who are involved in addressing IPV and supporting people who have been impacted by IPV. And that's a privilege that we, as our research team, definitely are very thankful for. And I mean, this means, organizations from different communities, the Indigenous community, which interestingly, it was through the IPV service study, was my first interaction with the Indigenous community. And one of the things that I always mentioned in our conversations was it feels like home, like our cultures are oceans away. I'm of Iranian descent, but the parallels and the connections are just so incredible. And it's really through these conversations and connections that these come to light, further solidifying the importance of a collectivist approach in eradicating IPV.
Yeah, Elnaz, that got me a little choked up when you said that. We're all oceans away, but yet still connected. That is very true. I think for me, one of the biggest lessons just being involved in participatory research and patient-oriented research is that importance of clarity and transparency, like really being intentional about roles and expectations and timelines. I think having that foundation can prevent a lot of misunderstanding and can help support, accountability. And because everyone has different priorities and capacities and different levels of types of lived experiences within these systems that we're trying to influence. So I think co-defining that kind of from the get-go would really pave the way and help honor everyone's contributions in the right way.
Well, Thank you so much for being vulnerable and speaking on that. It's very clear that these collaborations have brought these valuable insights, and that strengthening connection between research community. And I really appreciate that you all highlighted the transparent connections with one another and solidifying that anyone can be impacted by IPV. And a lot of people know someone or themselves are impacted. So it takes everyone to eradicate it. So thank you so much for being vulnerable with me. For the team as a whole, how do you balance research rigor with the need for the trauma-informed relational approaches to data collection and knowledge sharing?
I'd say really good communication. I truly, we have a solid team. I mean, the synergy among us and the kind of being on the same wavelength in terms of what we want to do and how we want to approach, addressing IPV by leveraging the different expertise that all of us bring to the table is just it's been an incredible journey. And when we talk about communication, it's not just within our internal team, but it's also as we learn, we relay that to our internal stakeholders within the hospital and to our community through webinars like the one that you folks have hosted and are continuing to host. And then we work together to see how we can start implementing small changes. They say Rome wasn't built overnight, and we work under the same philosophy. It's these small changes that will gradually evoke long-term sustainable and impactful change. And we're doing our part as a team to contribute to those changes.
I will also say that I don't think a trauma and violence informed approach and doing excellent quality of research necessarily need to be balanced. Like they go together, because if you conduct research that is of poor quality, you might not learn anything useful, or you might think you've learned one thing and actually it's not supportable. And if you start then sharing research that poorly conducted research with non-replicable results or invalid results, then you're not benefiting the people that you're intending to reach or benefit with the research, and you can do harm that way. So if we're setting out to work with all the people we're doing research with in a trauma and violence informed way, paying attention to the standards of the research, whether it's the scientific method or the ethical standards, these things will contribute to, or at least avoid, causing harm and re-traumatizing people.
I think rigorous research and compassionate research can coexist, and it can result in really trustworthy research that's also very ethical. And like Zoe said, they don't need to be mutually exclusive. In fact, they should not be.
I also think that trust and respect among the group is really important, that we do trust each other and respect each other's and everybody's expertise, and that's really, really important.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you for explaining that it's not just a balance with research, but when building partnerships, you have to have trust and respect and transparency with the rigor. And you're also being responsive to the realities of individuals who are impacted by adversity, violence, IPV. Thank you so much for diving into that. Taking a little bit into your webinar, you talked about design thinking process, including our IPV stories, which integrates digital media with design thinking, as well as the story for change, which incorporated art-based research. So emphasizing this, one of the big highlights from your presentation was that many of you bring in creative and interdisciplinary perspectives from that art-based research to implementation science. So I'm curious, how do these perspectives expand what's possible in IPV research?
Yeah, so I guess for me, I think I've always really been drawn towards finding alternatives and more creative approaches to solutions. And I think the use of arts-based research as well as design thinking is a really great way. Because when it comes to arts-based research, it's really about using art as a way to express how you're feeling. So that could be through different modes or mediums such as painting, drawing, dancing, singing. And I think the research has shown that for survivors of intimate partner violence and gender-based violence, art allows them to share their experiences in ways that words may not always be able to. And so I think art is also a way to break down language and cultural barriers as well, as we can really see the emotions that are being conveyed through the different art pieces that are being shared. And I think art also has a really great way of bringing people together, as people with who share similar experiences can come together and create art pieces and also find a community and a safe space while doing so. And then also to for design thinking, design thinking is really based on empathy and creativity and keeping our intended audience at the center of what we do. And so I think in terms of our IPV story, we know a lot of our audience are survivors and may not um, really understand the traditional approaches of research. So it's about using creative ways to break down the research and the information and the knowledge and present it in a way that um, they can understand and something that they would be interested in seeing more of, and also creating a safe space for them to share their ideas as well.
Exactly what Jaden said. Art inherently evokes and promotes collaboration. And the whole vision that we had for our IPV story is we don't want to talk at our audience. We want to open a space where everyone is able to talk, everyone is able to communicate. I should say communicate, because that form of communication extended beyond just language. It was through images, it was through even color, like bringing in color psychology. And coming from the researcher side of things, it taps into your human side. It really humanizes the work that we do and puts it into perspective as to why we're doing what we're doing. And that's really where Jaden's expertise shined. It was bringing in that art lens. And I will, do a little plug here for the Ontario College of Art and Design. When we were looking for someone to fill this position, I was like, I need an artist, but I need an artist who understands science and gets the research world as well. And lo and behold, Jaden appeared. So, having institutions that support and cultivate that culture is something that we are very grateful for as well. You're on mute.
Sorry, I thought I was sorry about that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this perspective. I was just diving into like one of the first papers about that I read in undergrad. Using an arts-based approach, they allowed teenagers that were going through very traumatic times, and they were allowed to take pictures of what builds resilience or what resilience meant to them. And that really expanded what research looked like for me. And allowing for more arts-based approaches. Was so glad to say that anyone could participate in an arts-based research approach. And as you mentioned, Jaden, creating a safe space for people to share is so powerful. And knowing that potentially someone went through something similar and allowing to share and feel comfortable sharing is so powerful for everyone involved. So thank you so much for diving in. And now, as you mentioned, learn as we go, as indicated by your lovely little roadmap in the webinar. I finally want to ask what's next for your team and these projects, and how can practitioners, researchers, and community members get involved or learn more?
I can start that. Yeah, we really just started working on this project a few months ago, so we've been preparing a lot of research ethics board applications and waiting to hear back on those. But we're also in the midst of kind of strategizing on how to get an advisory team together, an advisory team of lived experience survivors or organizations that partner with folks with lived experience, an indigenous group of lived experience with lived experience expertise, and also folks who have engaged in the act. So we're really just kind of working behind the scenes until we have our approval to get started. But I know that Elka and a few of our team members have already started on the ODERA updates, and that's well underway. And then also, yeah, just to answer your question directly about how folks can get involved, simply just reach out to our project team. We're a relatively small but mighty team, and we don't have any emails unanswered, so we will always get back to anyone who's interested in joining in any capacity. And yeah, we always welcome partners that have that shared vision. And that's ultimately our goal, is collaboration grounded in community.
Making sure I'm not missing anyone. Does anyone else have anything to add to that final question?
I think Seville really summed it up well. Yes, there's opportunities to get in touch with us and help guide what we're doing.
Amazing. I wanted to ask if there's anything that we might have missed in this conversation today, or something that we would like to delve in a little bit further, or to shout out particular sites or anything like that.
Do
There
you have
are
a
a couple.
for $1,000 to lend us? Sorry.
So-
Not lend, actually, just to give. So we
Fund
can
us, yeah. We also have websites existing for our different projects. So if people are interested, they can visit ouripvstory.com. And I know Alka and Zoe have a dedicated website for the respect study, as well as the other work that they're doing.
Yes, so we have in the slides, if you still have access to them, we have a couple of codes and URLs that take you to the Respect site, which is a page within a larger project that we call the Celia IPV project. And there's ways to contact us through there as well. And we'll post research outputs from the respect study, the framework, and other research to do with intimate partner violence that's going on there. As well as in the future, we will have a website specifically for the Maeve Hearts project, and that will be a base for communication as well.
And we'll make sure that all the different projects are kind of joined together in that new website, so we don't have a mosaic of different projects everywhere. So at least you can access them from the one central website. So,
And just
but
to
thank you very
plug,
much for facilitating the interviews and the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Jaden.
no, sorry, I was just gonna plug our social media. Yeah, so if you follow us at our IPV story, we have a Facebook, we have Instagram, we have TikTok. We do post about upcoming opportunities for collaboration. Also, our hospital, Waypoint Center, also has social media as well, and we work really closely with our internal communication team there. And so you can look out for that stuff there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the HERHealth podcast, transforming health for women and girls at risk. Remember, your health matters, and together we can make a difference. Until next time, remember to prioritize your health and well-being. For more resources and support on issues affecting girls, women, and gender diverse people, visit our website at avatraining.ca. This is Dr. Nicole Letourneau. Thank you for listening.